It felt brilliant. I mean, it felt amazing. It felt like I'd never been away. And again, you question your decisions, because when I stepped back into the club and there'd been such a huge welcome back, real excitement, I was like, oh, Jesus, now I've actually got to produce again. It's like you come back and you get the welcome that I got, and then the pressure builds because you've actually got to back it up. And the first few games started so well, and then we built momentum. That felt a really good time. When we came back, we had, again, very good players. There wasn't much rebuilding for me to do. There was more a case of just layers on top of what we already had. So I think we were really struggling in League One when we came back, and we quickly saw a team that should have been a lot higher than that. Some really talented young players, and a very ambitious board behind the scenes that really wanted to kick the club on. So we just needed to get some confidence and momentum within the group, and we did that within the early games. And I think once the confidence came to the group, we played some very good football. I think there was confidence. I think obviously our style of play and seemed to complement the players we had. We felt, fullbacks have always been a huge thing of our style of play. We had Charlie Daniels and Simon Francis, who were really good ages, very, very good players. We were hugely excited about what they could bring to the team. And you look at the rest of the squad, it was a really good squad, and we were able in the transfer market as well to add to it, and I think that's key. Adding Brett Pittman back to the club and the goals that he could bring, we were very confident we could be successful with that team. I think with every step, I think we were being met with a resistance from the outside, not from the inside, that there was a limit to what we could do. And we sort of had to mentally bridge that with the players, because I think when we got to the Championship, I think we had, to check my memories right, but 2 really tough games at the start of the season. It didn't go well. A lot of questions were asked that club couldn't continue to go forward. But again, thankfully, once the players began to believe that we could play at that level and excel at that level, results began to come. And again, the transfer market was key for us at this stage. Whereas before we'd built everything on the spirit of the group, now we were able to bring some very good players to the football club. How I felt after that first season, where we had a really great run and we got close, and then ultimately we just tailed off at the end, a feeling of real disappointment. Had we missed our best chance? Thankfully, it didn't turn out that way. And actually, in hindsight, when you look back, that was a key year, because I think we wouldn't have been ready for the step at that stage. If I remember back, there was 5 or 6 teams that could have gone up that year, maybe more at one stage. And we just managed to be a little bit more consistent than everybody else. I think very, very tight games. I mean, the sequence of results that meant we had to beat Bolton to go up was bizarre, because I think Middlesbrough had that game where they conceded in the last few seconds of the match. And so fate seemed to just fall our way. But look, listen, you have to create that yourself. And we were very consistent that year. We were very good defensively, very good in attack. We had goal scorers all through the team. Some players, I think, played their best football of their careers. And the team was really, really hungry, and I think that was a key thing. We had a lot of players that had never been there before, and they were determined to taste the Premier League, and ultimately I think those factors just swayed it our way. I think looking back now, it seemed a long time, because I was under pressure from the owner, who wanted instant success. It couldn't come quick enough for him. So I think at the time it didn't seem as quick as it actually was. But yeah, I mean, the job that the players did, the team behind the team did was unbelievable, to get there. Not just in the speed that we did it, but I think in the manner that we did it, the style. I still look back at some of those games and some of those days as some of the best football we've played. I think maybe with a little bit of rose-tinted glasses, because that does tend to happen when you look back historically, but certainly some very special days for the club. So when we got into the Premier League, you notice suddenly the media pressure, even the pressure from our own supporters, because they didn't want it to just be one season. They wanted to taste the Premier League for longer than that. So instantly, again, the pressure changes. But it was one that I think we felt, but we wanted to try and use it as a positive and as a motivator to stay there. We had spent some money in the transfer market. We felt we had a lot of players who had never played in the Premier League. We wanted to bring some in who had that experience. We weren't quite sure who was going to step up, who wasn't going to step up. So, yeah, I think we were quite brave in the transfer market, but that was instantly almost wiped out. Like the 3 injuries, I think were within a week of each other. It was like a hammer blow for us. So all our pace of the team seemed to go in 1 week, and we were left, I think, with not with so much a weaker squad, but mentally, I think a lot of the players were looking around going, we've just lost 3 of our best players. What's going to happen now? And I think that there was a time when we needed to really be strong mentally, that we could handle ourselves at the level. I think the job has changed. I think that just the demands around the job increase. I think the job itself, the fundamentals of the job are the same. You've got to train the players well. You've got to have a good relationship with them. You've got to have a common goal. All those things don't change, but I just think the bits around it, demands on your time, the media exposure, and that's the same not just for me, but for the players. And you've got to get used to that demand. The Brendan story goes back to Burnley. So I think we were in different leagues. They'd got promoted to the Premier League. We were at Burnley in the Championship, and I think I just asked him, "Can I come and see you work?" I think we'd met after a game previous season, got on really well, and he was brilliant. He was absolutely superb with me. He invited me down, spent a couple of days with him, and he was very, very generous with his time, and we shared a few stories, and forever grateful for that, because you need people to help you along the way. It is a tough, lonely job at times, and Brendan was brilliant. I think I watched a couple of training sessions. It was more the time that he gave me after, actually. It was the personal time that he gave me, and he just seemed keen to help me, and it was sort of that, plus obviously a little bit of tactical discussion between us about how he does things and how they work and what their schedule is. All these things are very important, and he opened up to me and just told me what they do. I've seen several managers and been to see several managers since, mainly abroad, because the pool you can go to see in this country gets smaller and smaller when you're in the Premier League. So, I've been to see Maurizio Sarri work and several other managers abroad, and they've been very, very good, and I've learned so much from those different trips. Naturally, I think when you go through a season at this level, there will be times when you don't win. I think that's where our style of play and the way we want to set the team up has been really important. I think we've always tried to be positive. We've always tried to attack, take the game to the opposition. We've never sacrificed our principles at any stage. I think those things count for you when you're under pressure, when you need a result. And I think then the goodwill of the crowd, I think, has been absolutely key. They've stuck with us and helped us, and eventually we've got there together. I've tended not to focus on things that I can't control. So when you're in those moments, I think you just have to go back to basics at times and the fundamentals that you rely on, and that's what we've tried to do. And then hope that's good enough. I think when the players need confidence, they just want simplicity. But I've never tended to question what if this doesn't go well or what happens next. I just think you've got to let nature take its course and do the best job you can. And you want it to be as positive an environment as it can be. And I think that's where the supporters have been absolutely brilliant. So times when we haven't won, times when the team's been under pressure, they've always backed us, they've got behind us. And that's been the key moment. That's how we've ended up to come out of bad run, due to the fact that the team is able to play in an environment that means we can play our football, because we play such a distinct way that if they are under pressure or players are thinking about negative things, it won't work. I think in modern day management, I think there is a real need, it seems, for change, for instant reactions, for overreactions, both ways, whether you're successful or unsuccessful. And I think it does make the job of a manager a lot harder now than it was even when I started. So I think there can be longevity in the job. I think it's just that you have to maybe reinvent yourself along the way, or reinvent the team along the way, to keep it as fresh as possible. I've never really set limits on time. For me, that's not the right way to manage. It's all about progression of the team, being in an environment where you're happy, where you're able to express yourself in the best way. I don't think you can judge it by seasons or as I say, time. I think it's got to be on the environment you're in, how you're trying to create that environment. So that's the things that I tend to judge it on. I don't know what the future holds, but I've never believed in limitations and people telling you can't do things, because if we'd have had that belief at the start, probably wouldn't have got out of League One. And everyone knows the story that we've been through, since we've come back. So I don't believe in those things. I didn't believe in those things as a player. I don't believe them as a manager. So let's wait and see.